Absolutely.
You young people.
And I wanted to show, we're going to be talking about, all of you should have this book called Pathways.
Mhm.
If you don't have it, you can get more from Stacy. We have about 1,000 of them still at our headquarters. So just ask her and we can get them to you. But this is what this is the Bible, I think.
Mhm.
It's really the Bible about the clinical resources that are here in the Bluegrass area for our participants. So when they say something like, I have a toothache, you know, you don't have to say, oh my God, what do we do? You know, you can go to this book. And so Dana, we met the Bluegrass agency at the health fair at the Lexington Senior Center. And they said, oh, it's too bad Dana isn't here, because Dana just loves to go out and speak to groups. Because I was asking about, you know, it's nice to have these books, but what's in it? And they said, Dana is the person that you need to talk to. So I invited her here so that she could explain to us what's in this book and how can we use it so we can help our participants a little bit better than we already have been. So with that, I give it to Dana.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. And that book that you held up has been replaced with the 2022 Pathways publication. So I will need to get you some of the updated books. They put them out once a year. So I will get some of those to you. A lot of the agencies and referral sources are the same, but you always like to have it updated. Yes. So but that is kind of our Bible. We use that around here to get people where they need to be for adequate resources. So I don't like to just talk. I really love questions, so that I'm sure I'm answering your questions and sharing what you need shared. So please don't hesitate to interrupt, raise a hand, whatever works best for you. I have actually been at the Bluegrass Area Agency on Aging and Independent Living, that's the long name, for a little over a year. And I work as an aging specialist in the Aging and Disability Resource Center. So that's kind of what I do. We take in, goodness, close to 2,500 calls a month from various people who are dealing with things because they are elderly or because they are disabled. So we work all ages and try to get people to the right resources. So we like to call ourselves the other AAA. So if any of y'all have AAA and you know that's who you call when your car breaks down, we're the AAA for the elderly and the disabled. So that's kind of like what we call ourselves anyway. So every community in America has an area agency on aging. In 1965, they passed the Older Americans Act, and from that came all of the area agency on aging departments, came all of the area development districts, came all of the senior citizen centers. So we have a lot to be thankful for from that Older Americans Act in 1965. But there is an elder care locator, and you'll see that number listed on your screen. It's nationwide. So if somebody is wanting to know where their area agency on aging is, they can contact the elder care locator at that 800 number, or they can also go online at www.eldercare.gov and find the local place for them. In Kentucky, our Bluegrass Area Development District serves 17 counties, which you will see listed there. Throughout the state of Kentucky, there are 15 different area development districts. And so we serve these 17 counties, but if you're working with a client that is from another county, we can certainly help connect you to that local Aging and Disability Resource Center. But these counties that you see listed are the ones that we work with. Are all of you in Lexington? Everybody?
Well, I think that the university students can come from all over the place.
Right. Right.
Right.
Okay.
But and with the Caring Place, you know, there's a few out in Nicholasville, Versailles. I think
But
a
in
couple
these
from
general counties.
but it's right right around in this area, what I call
Okay.
the Bluegrass area.
Okay, great. Now, we do a lot of different programs in this area, and I won't go through all of them, but I'm going to just talk about the resources that we most often refer people to who call us. So you'll see a list of those there. We're only going to talk about a smidgen of them. So unless you have questions, we'll move ahead. The big program that we refer people to is the Elder Nutrition Program. And that, of course, is offered through the local senior citizen centers. If a person is 60 or older, they are eligible for those free meals. They do ask if they want to give a donation. They are more than happy to give a donation to help that program continue to go and move ahead. But it's actually paid for by the Federal Administration on Aging. So if we have somebody 60 and older that is having a tough time preparing meals, we will usually set them up with the Elder Nutrition Program. And there are two different sections of that. One is home delivered meals, where they actually deliver the meal to the home 3 to 5 days a week around lunchtime. And then the other is called congregate meals. Before COVID, that used to mean that people went and sat down in the dining room and ate together. There are only a few of the senior centers in Kentucky that have opened back up for that. Most of them have drive-throughs for those congregate meals. So if somebody needs the Elder Nutrition Program, but they are still able to drive, they can go and pick the meals up around lunchtime at the local senior citizen center. So they also sometimes help with emergency food. If we find somebody that, you know, is in a shortage, they can help with emergency food also.
Mm-hmm. Dana, they have a long waiting list.
In Lexington, they do have a long waiting list. We keep a running total each month of the waiting list for each of our 17 counties. And of course, Fayette County is the big one. They have about 50 on their waiting list right now. And that is the reason why, if one of the people in the home can drive, we try to do the congregate meals, because there is no wait for the congregate meals. The wait is for the delivered meals, because they have to have drivers and people to deliver them. So,
so what's happened because of this long waiting list is, with our participants, just talking about us, they are also food deprived.
Right.
And they are eligible. I mean, they are far below the poverty level. And so we've started to feed them, which means we're using our own personal resources. The Federal Aging Administration doesn't give us anything.
Right.
These people should be being fed through them, but they have a waiting list. So now we're picking up the thing to help them out of our own personal thing. I don't know if that doesn't really make sense, but you can't leave them starve.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. We can occasionally, if I talk to someone who is in an emergency need for food, a lot of times the senior center will keep emergency meals that they can go deliver to someone in a pinch. There are also mom's meals. If they have any of the managed care options through Medicare, like Humana or Anthem, any of those managed options, they have mom's meals that they can get for a certain length of time. Those are shipped to them, but the senior center also helps with those. But you're right, we've got to get, it's not an issue of financial problems, it's an issue of volunteer staff to drive the cars and deliver the meals. That's why there's a waiting list. So.
Well, that's amazing. Stacy, are you here?
I am. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
So we spend approximately $37,000 a year,
Wow.
and we deliver.
Hmm.
So I don't know if anything can, and so how we get our money is we go out begging for money for individual
Right.
donations. We write grants, which is an enormous amount of work to do grants
Right.
to get this money. And what that does, it takes our time from our main thrust, which is we are a relationship program.
Right. Right. So have you talked with anyone at the senior center about joining forces to provide drivers or?
I have called Emily. I don't think she's there anymore. This is when we first started to say,
Yeah, she
well,
isn't.
yeah.
She's at the state level now. The person in Fayette County is Jessica Stam. And Fayette County is really the only county that we see that kind of weight with.
Right.
We, as aging specialists, were volunteering as drivers for a while, helping to deliver them just to get them out to the people that they already had on the program. But yeah, I always try to not duplicate services. And especially like you say, it pulls you away from your main goal.
Right.
Which is
it leaves
relationship
us
building.
in financial struggles constantly.
Right. And the really tough part is when people are not 60 yet.
Oh, they're all 60. Yeah.
I'm taking a food basket tonight to a fellow who's 53 and he doesn't have any food in his house. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. So
but I
just,
agree. That's
yeah.
a tough one then, because yeah, that's the cutoff for the Lexington Senior Center.
Exactly. Exactly. Another program that we use is the National Family Caregiver Support Program. And it offers up to $1,800 per year toward the cost of respite care. There's no financial requirement for this program. Usually there is not a wait for it. They are kind of in a hold right now because their fiscal year begins July 1st. For 2023. So if I send them a referral today, they're going to send those applications out in June to begin July 1st. So they're kind of in a month-long kind of hold right now, but usually there isn't a wait for those services. And it includes the money for the respite care and an additional $400 per year toward the cost of like incontinence supplies, which people are just broke paying for incontinence supplies, and supplemental nutritional drinks and things such as that. So,
right.
We also have, if you have anyone in this category, we have a state caregivers program, which we term a grandparents program. So if you have anyone who is 55 or older and is the main caretaker, has custody of a grandchild that's 18 or younger, they are eligible for the grandparent program. And the grandparent program provides money for school supplies, school clothes, various things like that. So we can make those referrals also if you know anybody in that situation. The big program that we do the most of is Medicaid waiver. And this is probably the one you all are most familiar with.
Yes.
When someone calls my office and says, I need a Medicaid waiver, if they do not yet have Medicaid, the first step is they need to place the initial call to DCBS Medicaid and get themselves into the system. And once that happens, we do a short 5 or 10 minute screening with them. And then we can go online and complete that application. We can get the required doctor's statement, which is called a MAP 10. And we submit all of that and get it all done online. It's much easier than the person trying to wade through the online process.
Oh, that is very nice to know.
Yes, yes. So a lot of people start the process online and they get in the middle of it and then call us and go, I've started it, but I don't know what they're talking about. So honestly takes about 10 minutes for us to do the application. The thing we wait most on is the physician having the time to complete the MAP 10 and get it back to us, because they get so many requests for signatures and written things. So, but the Medicaid waiver program, it actually has financial requirements to it. And that's what I want to let me get to that screen. A lot of people think, oh, I've applied for Medicaid and I didn't, I can't qualify for it. And actually, I don't have it on here, but in order to be financially, to meet the financial requirements of the waiver program, they look at the individual, not the household like regular Medicaid does. So they're going to look at the person who's applying for the waiver. If that person makes less than $2,523 per month in income, they are good to go. In addition to the monthly income, they also look at their assets and their resources. And they don't count the primary residence, one vehicle, or the contents of the residence. So what they're looking at are liquid assets, such as checking and savings accounts, stocks, bonds. What gets a lot of people is life insurance. That is whole life. So it can be cashed in prior to death, or it can be borrowed against. If that's the type of life insurance the person has, it counts as an asset. So we have a lot of people who are turned down because of that. But they want the assets and resources to be less than $2,000. So if they meet those two qualifications, they can apply for the waiver program. And the waiver program offers up to 40 hours per week of care in the home. And that's paid for by Medicaid. So.
Okay, I had a question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You were saying that they need to apply for Medicaid, but then the Medicaid waiver is based on different things, so they can be rejected for Medicaid and then still apply for the waiver?
Well, what we have them do, and dealing with Medicaid, I tell people trying to understand Medicaid is like trying to understand God. You just cannot do it. But when they call Medicaid, I usually give them a step-by-step instruction page. And when they call, they are to ask for waiver supportive Medicaid, not straight Medicaid, not advanced premium tax credits. But we often have to call back because the Medicaid representative will put them in for straight Medicaid and mark them as ineligible. So we have to do that a lot, but yes, they just have to get into the Medicaid system. So
Gotcha. Thank you.
We have one of our people has gotten into this, and I bet just listening to you talking, and it's been very confusing for her. And they finally told her that as of June, she needs to quit trying because now she's banned from it. I mean, they probably didn't say those specific words, but that's how she kind of took it. But I'm wondering if her issue was that when she called to get the Medicaid thing, they put her in the regular Medicaid instead of the Medicaid waiver.
Well, they do that a lot because for straight Medicaid, I mean, you have to be indigent. I mean, you have to make less than, I don't know what the figure is, 400 or so a month. So they do it a lot, that they apply for the wrong thing. And so we have to call back a lot. And it's the reason why I send the step-by-step instructions. And that may be the case. She can certainly, if you want her to call me, I can see what they've applied. The big problem is that the Medicaid system in DCBS doesn't see any waiver application until a level of care has been uploaded. And that doesn't happen until I've submitted the physician's statement, the application, the Medicaid nurse has gone out to do the level of care assessment. So a lot of things happen before that level of care date is uploaded.
Mhm.
So what we ask people to do is call Medicaid. And then once the level of care date is uploaded, we have them call Medicaid back to make sure they have the right type. Because once the level of care is entered, Medicaid is like, oh, okay, this is what they're doing. So you just have to know how to work the system. And it is very frustrating, especially for elderly people
Yes.
and disabled people who struggle. And they want all kinds of documents, and people have difficulty doing that. And there's just not a service out there for somebody to go in the home and help them with it. So.
Yeah. All I can do is echo your words, because that's exactly what we hear from our
Right.
participants.
Mhm. But feel free to have them call us. And I'm going to give you the number for our office. We are right now 2 staff members down, like everybody. We have a staffing shortage. And so we are running about 2.5 weeks behind on getting to people's phone calls. So we have a call center that takes the calls, and we are desperately trying to get caught up on those phone calls. I'm happy to give my direct number if you have a more emergent situation. I'm happy to take that phone call and help you with it. But the Medicaid waiver from their initial call to Medicaid to the time they actually access the services is usually somewhere between 6 and 8 weeks. So it's a couple of months, and that's for the home and community-based waiver. There are other waivers for disabled folks, the Michelle P. waiver. They have an acquired brain injury waiver. They have a ventilator-dependent Model 2 waiver. They have a support for community living waiver. The Michelle P. and the support for community living have 5 to 7 year waiting lists.
Oh my gosh.
So the home and community based is by far the quickest waiver to get someone on, but it is based on physical disability. So if you have someone who has dementia, but they are still able to physically do everything, it's hard to get coverage. If you have someone who is intellectually disabled, but they can still walk on their own and it's hard to get them covered through the home and community-based waiver because it is based on physical disability. So.
Well, that's good to know. I think of Alzheimer's as a very physical-based disability.
Right. It is not in the early stages, but it is. But we have special programs we use the Bluegrass Care Navigators a lot. They have a transitional dementia program, which is a wonderful program. It's a grant program, and we're really hoping that it remains permanent. But we can refer people to the Bluegrass Care Navigators, what most people know as hospice, but they've kind of moved out and included other services. But it's a 6-month program where they go into the home and they support and encourage the caregiver. They give education and resources for the person living with dementia and the caregiver. And they also provide respite care for the caregiver. I know one little lady in Georgetown, they provided respite care 2 afternoons a week for her caregiver. So we can make those referrals. We also have what's called the Kentucky Home Care Program. It does not look at assets and resources. So if someone makes $1,100 a month in monthly income, but they have resources that they've saved up that are in excess of $2,000, then we go with the home care program. And the home care program offers the same services as the Medicaid waiver. They are just on a sliding scale fee. So if the person makes less than, I think, $1,400 a month, there is no fee for the care. That program does have a 5 to 6 month waiting list though. So,
Wow.
yeah, we just need more money,
Yeah.
more money and more people.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's such a huge need and the need's growing.
It is, and it will continue to grow because our population is getting older, particularly with dementia. Various types of dementia, they are increasing exponentially as our population grows older. And I read one thing that estimated 1 in 18 people would be affected by dementia in their latter years. That is going to be a health crisis if we don't begin to advocate and get the resources that we need. So
I agree.
yes. So we also refer people a lot to the state health insurance assistance program. I don't know if you all use that or not.
Yes, we do. Some of our participants do.
Yes, you have to be careful referring people to SHIP. You have to be sure they're saying they get that you have a P as in Peter on the end. But they are run actually through the legal aid of the Bluegrass office. And they are experts with all things insurance. So if we have someone who wants to know what their Medicaid pays for or what their Medicare Advantage program pays for, or they need to switch a plan, or they need dental care and they don't have it on their plan, we refer them to the State Health Insurance Assistance Program, and they do a fantastic job helping people. We also refer to the Legal Aid Society for people who need information on things like power of attorney, guardianship, a medical proxy. There are various things that they can help with. So I've already told you about that. I just didn't flip to it quick enough. A big thing we do here is we are, everybody is actually a mandated reporter for elder abuse. And we work along with the Ombudsman's office and various other resources to help people who are having any kind of abuse, whether that's scams, someone taking advantage of them financially, older people who are without food and we don't have resources for them, we will make an adult protection service report. So, and you'll see you can do online reports at that intake there, or you can make them by phone.
I think some of the cases that have come up with elder abuse have been so, they're not clear cut. It's
Right.
not something like you just say, oh, yes, that's elder abuse. Let's call so-and-so. Let's
Right.
use the hotline. And because of course, when the state or who on the other, when these helpers come in, I mean, there's consequences, there's ramifications, that so unless you really know for sure, I've always felt myself a little bit tentative about the first thing being, oh, let's call them, because they can really go in and ruin.
They can. To be honest with you, they don't accept a lot of the calls that they get. When I make an adult protection service report, they give me a report number, and then the next morning I call back to see if that has been accepted for investigation. They struggle a lot because older people, whether they're making the safe decisions we think they should make or not, does not alleviate the fact that they are independent and they have the right to make those decisions. So if you're falling and you're, not safe in your home, but you're still at yourself enough to say, I don't want to go to a nursing home, they can't force it. So when I call, they give me that number. The next morning I call back. To be honest, in the last year and a half or so that I've worked here, I have had 4 that they've accepted.
Because
because
that
it's
makes me
just
feel
difficult.
a little bit better.
Yeah, it's difficult for them to do it. And a lot of times I call, I had a client last week that has bed bugs. That is a horrible problem. There is no resource for that at all. This lady is very elderly. She needs help in her home. She has gotten an eviction notice if she doesn't treat it. In order to treat it, her whole apartment has to be cleaned out. So I called adult protection. They did take that one because she didn't have the resources to help herself, and they didn't want to see her become homeless. So
right. But I'm thinking like Stacy, I'm thinking like Dr. K. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I know Dr.
Yeah.
K. We know Dr. K.
Oh, do you?
Okay.
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 Well, I guess we all know Dr. K.
I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't reveal that for confidentiality, but yes, we know Dr. K.
Yeah. And so, it's like,
Yeah.
what do you do? But I suppose if you know Dr. K too, I suppose they get a lot of reports on her then. And
Exactly.
Well, but it was I don't know if it was fortunate or unfortunate, but they talked to her and she assured them that she was good and can take care of herself, et cetera, et cetera. And they did not like push, which I think for her, that was probably a good thing because I don't think she could have handled that.
Right. And it's hard to push. I mean, when I was a young social worker many years ago, I would go into a house and I'd think, oh, I can fix all this by giving them all these resources. And I got it all fixed up. And a month later, I went back and it was back in the same shape. People have to choose to make a difference in their lives. And regardless of whether we think it's safe or we don't think it's a very intelligent decision, people have the right to make their own decisions about their health care, their living environment, everything else. And it's very difficult with adults, with older people, because they don't want to let that independence go. And I certainly understand that. So sometimes we have to just say, well, it's not a safe situation, but she's able to make her own decisions. So it's kind of difficult to deal with those decisions sometimes.
yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions you have? Those are kind of the main, we work a lot in tandem with the senior centers on various health expos and oh goodness, this office does all kinds of programs, but those are, kind of in a nutshell, the ones that we recommend the most. And so just to reiterate, that's the Fayette County or any county nutrition program. It's the waiver program. It's the home care program, which is the one that is on the sliding scale fee, the National Family Caregivers Program, and then the dementia programs that are available.
Okay.
So.
Well, this is, and I thought that I heard somebody else start to talk, like there might be another question. Was there from anyone? It sounded like Ann's voice actually, but maybe not.
If you want to make a referral, you will see the number there. It's an 866 number. And like I say, that goes to a call center. You can also email the referrals at adrc@bgadd.org. And if you have more emergent situations that you don't feel like need to wait 2 weeks, usually our call center and our email try to prioritize phone calls. So if we have someone that calls in and needs home delivered meals or food, that goes in priority. Anything we think is adult protection, or an unsafe situation will go in priority. Someone who's coming out of a nursing home and needs help in the house, that'll be priority. But I am more than happy to give you my direct number. If you think of any other questions about any of our services, I am more than happy to help with that. If you have other organizations that would like us to come and speak to them, we're more than happy to do that. My name again is Dana, and that's D-A-N-A. And the last name is Davidson. And my direct number here is 859-810-2501. And for those of you, I think some of you physicians, I know some of the college students are going to
We
be-
do have a few physicians, yes.
Right. Sometimes physicians will fax us. All of our email, our phone, everything is confidential, but they will fax to our ADRC line. They'll go ahead and fax the completed MAP 10 as the referral, with just a note to say, please assess for all services. So we get faxes also. So.
Okay. You know, this has just been so informative and so helpful and such a lot of information.
It is a
Yeah.
lot. It is a lot. And I just hate to just talk and talk and talk and talk. So I like questions. So.
Right. So I'm hoping that you're willing to come back after we have a chance to digest some of this and think about it, because I know we're going to have questions. We always have questions.
Yeah. Well, I am more than happy to do that. And I am more than happy to send the PowerPoint if you'd like for me, so you can distribute it to the people in the meeting.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I'll send that to you by email, and you can send it out to everybody so everybody has all the phone numbers. And I will also drop off some of our new Pathways publications. So.
Oh, thank you. So
We
Stacy,
have thousands of them. So if you need them for a doctor's office, if you need them we had a guy come by today to pass out to some of the residents at Legacy Reserve. So we've got tons of them. So.
well, we probably have about 1,000 too, right, Stacy?
Oh, okay.
But they're old ones. They're
Yes.
all old.
Well, it's time for you to get a new one.
Where are those books at? Are they at the church, Roxanne?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Stacy, aren't they in a box? So in Pastor Sandy's old office? Did Stacy leave us?
Is that where I should drop the box off?
Yes.
Okay.
And if there's nobody there, because we have a part-time assistant only, if it's not, doesn't look like a rainy day or something like that, just leave it on the outside of the door. And when she comes in, then she'll bring it inside.
Okay.
Or if you bring it after I get back from Alaska, I'm going to Alaska.
Wow.
Yeah, in a couple of days, actually. And I will be back on June 20th. If I know that you're coming, I can meet you at the headquarters. Or Dawn, wave your hand so she knows who Dawn is.
Yeah, you can give me.
Really not Roxanne.
Yeah, if you call me and let me know that you dropped them off, I can go there immediately and put it inside.
Okay.
Okay, so I will send you Don's email or phone number so that you know how to get a hold of him. Okay.
That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect. Well, I appreciate you all. I've made several referrals here lately, and as the COVID stuff keeps going away, people are so lonely and they have been so isolated that the relationship services that you all offer are just invaluable. They're as important as the health resources, because people are just.
Yeah.
I talk to people who have not been out of their homes in 2.5 years. They have not left their house
Right.
in 2.5 years. So
well, we really, really appreciate those referrals, because it really pains our heart to think that there's people out there that might benefit by our services, but nobody knows about us.
Exactly. I'm glad to know about you. I do have one question for you. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but do you all ever do services for people in nursing homes?
You know, we don't usually do that, but I'll tell you, the ones that we do are when one of our participants is relocated to the nursing home.
Oh, okay.
We will follow them. We will follow them. And
Right.
the only way we would drop them is that for some reason, they are the atypical kind of person in a nursing home. And they actually make friends and they're going to the programs, you know, and they're actually better off than when they were at home. And those will drop from our program. But even with those, we'll call them like every 2 months or something just to see, how are you? Are things still going good for you? And I think we do that. We didn't have any intention of doing that, but once you start a relationship, the transformation is mutual. You're not just giving friendship, you're gaining friendship. And that does not break just because they've relocated.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Well, any other questions? If not, I'll send this to you and you can send it out to them. And please don't hesitate to call me if you think of other questions or need anything. We are happy to help. So,
well, you've been absolutely delightful and so informative. Thank you so much, Dana. It's so appreciated.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Katomi, is there special people that you'd still like to report, or do you have any? No, there's no. They've all left.
I have updates from a couple people that I'll email you because it's actually like 5 or 6 who couldn't make it today. And then the people who needed to go, actually, I'll let Amanda go since she is driving so that she can just like get off the call and not have to be distracted. So yeah, Amanda, if you want to go first.
Sure. Hi guys. Sorry, I have to take my friend to the airport. But Earl is doing good, kind of same old. He and his daughter had like a party for the Kentucky Derby and kind of like a potluck thing and had a bunch of people over. Still taking his dog for walks pretty frequently. And I don't know, that's about it. That's all I have from him, but he seems to be doing well.
Oh, good. And we do have somebody taking care of Francis while Lauren's gone.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, and I'll double check with her when she gets back. I don't remember, but I'll let you know about that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right. Bye guys. Good to see you.
Nice seeing you. And Bill had one of his participants graduated from our program, right, Bill?
Yes. My Don, he got married on March 30th, and he had been dating this woman. She lived in Stanton, I think, and when she had an opportunity and was in Lexington, she would visit with him. And I'm not exactly sure how that all worked out, but anyway, he had been, quote, dating her for about 2 years, and she wasn't ready to make that commitment. And then all of a sudden she said, I'm ready. And so they got married right away.
Right.
And so moved in with him. And so now he has a full-time companion. And so we sort of terminated our calls and things because he was a lot of times busy and didn't have time and whatever.
Yeah, he's got a new wife.
Right. So he's
I
got
mean, that-
somebody to talk to him. all
Of
the
course,
time.
he's busy.
And somebody to actually help him. He went on and on about how much cleaning she was doing. He was visually impaired, blind, basically. And so he couldn't really clean anything or whatever. And so she's been cleaning everything. And so, yeah, he's, he was doing very well. So Roxanne provided a new phone number for me for Andy, who is presently living in Richmond. And I've spoken to him twice now. I spoke to him at the end of last week. I got a hold of him right away. And then Monday, I guess I called him back. And he's doing very well, has some arthritic issues, but he was divorced. He was only married a very short time and was divorced as a young man. He's 76 or 77 now, and never remarried. And so he has all he has are no children. He has relatives, but they're not very involved at all with him. His one nephew owns the apartment he's staying at and gives him a good deal on the apartment. But apparently all he has is, I think his only resources are really Social Security. Social Security. And so his funds are somewhat limited as far as housing. But he's a very interesting guy and very well educated and very pleasant to talk to.
Well, I'm glad you've started to initiate that relationship for them. I'm looking forward to how it blooms and blossoms. And thank you for your service. And Katomi.
Yeah, Justin, do you want to go?
Yeah, I can go ahead and go. So I talked to Ashley and she's been doing all right. She's been doing a lot of puzzles and reading just because she thinks her mind's not as sharp as it used to be. So she's been trying to do whatever she can to stay active.
You know, they were doing those cognitive screens at the Lexington Senior Center that you needed to call and make an appointment for. Did you tell her about that?
I have not been able to reach her just because our times haven't really worked out.
Okay.
But I'll try. When did those end?
Well, you know, I think that I think she needs to call and try to make an appointment, first of all, because they only come in like once every 2 months or so. They're not always there, but it's a wonderful service that they provide.
I'll definitely let her know about it.
You know, I think that we need to give her some resources, maybe that she could look into that, because maybe what she's experiencing is just, again, normal aging, right? And nothing to sit there and worry about and fret about. But I think all older people do. I mean, every older person that I know has a certain fear. I mean, it is an epidemic proportions, the dementias, and they are increasing exponentially, and we all know that. So I mean, none of us, doesn't matter who you are, what money you are. I mean, you could have the beginning signs of one of the dementias too. So the older person who does not think about it is probably already has a little bit of it.
From what I can tell, she's pretty optimistic about it and she's being pretty positive. So that's a good thing.
But it'd be nice if you're really concerned to have a screening. Dr. Bill, what do you think?
But I'm trying to think. Are you aware? It seems like Sanders Brown, the office they have over on. My mind's going to over not Forbes, but on Virginia. That office they have where the grocery store used to be over there. Seems like they do screening at that office there. And I'm not sure when or such, but I think they do screening there.
Oh, really? Well, maybe
on a regular basis,
yeah.
Not every day probably, but on like on
Yeah.
one day a week or something, but on a regular basis.
We need to ask about that. Joe, are you going to that, see that presentation, June 12th?
I am not. I'll be in St. Louis still.
Oh, okay. Can you ask one of your, I know Deep is going to talk to one of the reps there. Can you ask Deep to ask, do they just do screenings like could one of our participants, if they're worried, if they're concerned, could they give them a call? Is it that simple and come in for a screening? I mean, we don't want a full battery of tests, just a screening.
Okay.
Thank
I'll reach out to Deep.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. And Joe, do you want to go next?
Yeah. I talked to Wanda. She's doing well. She's been getting outside a little bit more now that the weather's nice, and she just likes to sit and just like watch everything. But she has like decently bad allergies, as like a lot of people do. So she's just been talking to me about that, but she's doing well.
Well, that's good.
Sounds good. And then Abby, do you want to go?
Hello. I talked to Mark and he's been doing really good recently. His spirits seem to be super high. And he has actually cut me back to only calling him 2 times a week. I think he's trying to get himself ready for when I leave and when Connor starts calling him again. But he's been super chill. Whenever I call him, he's like, seems really happy. And we just kind of talk about our lives. He's been going to the cemetery to be outside and go see his parents and all of that. So yeah, he's been doing good.
Mm-hmm. He asked me when I go to Alaska if I could bring him back a keychain.
Yeah, he collects keychains. So I actually brought him one back from Hawaii, and I've got him one from like Minnesota or something, somewhere I went. And that's so funny you mentioned it, because he was talking about you and Stacy, and he's like, I just love them. They're so sweet. This program's just so awesome. And he started talking about how much he loves everybody.
Well, I know he really loves you. So, and I know he'll miss you. I know he'll miss you, when Connor comes back.
Yeah. And I told him that he could save my number and I would still call him and check in on him. And me and Luke would kind of give him a call sometimes together and stuff. So I think he feels a little bit better about it now.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that.
He also wanted me to ask, I don't know if you guys do the same food delivery to every single person, but he said that it's really hard for him to eat like the creamy stuff because of his diet. So he was wondering if there's any way that we could do more like burgers and chicken and hot dog, more stuff like that for him instead. I don't know what the creamy stuff means, but he just told me to ask.
Okay. Could you write me an email about that? Because I don't have anything to write with. I
sure.
had a pen that ran out of ink. So,
Yeah.
and let me send a note to Sharon to see what's possible.
Okay. Sounds perfect.
I know he's diabetic, right?
Yes, he is.
And so I think he does have, I think when he talks about creamy stuff, I think it's like sugary stuff. And he's
Maybe.
worried about that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. He just said that it was hard to eat and asked if there's any way we could do. He was like, I don't want to lose it. I want to make sure that like if that's all they can do, then that's totally fine. But I just figured I would ask. I was like, I can ask them. I'm not really sure, but I will definitely ask for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. So we'll ask about that.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
perfect. So I'll send you an email about that then.
Okay. Thanks, Abby.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys.
Anne?
I speak with Alice and with Karen, and last weekend I invited Alice for me to pick her up and Alice, to bring her to Versailles. We had an Art in the Park event, and it was quite a lovely morning. She had friends who'd lived in Versailles and things we had talked about. So it was good to have her out. Today, she wasn't home when I called, and she called me back and said that a friend had said, do you want to ride to Kroger with me? And she's willing to go out anywhere. And she said, we went to the Kroger on Richmond Road instead of the one on Alexandria. So she was late getting back. I had the situation on Monday that I was at East Jessamine Middle School helping my daughter pack up her classroom, and my phone would not work there. I wasn't in the system. So I used my daughter's phone to call Karen, and she doesn't have an answering machine. She hasn't activated her answering machine. So I think she ended up calling Stacy to find out what had happened to me. So I was able to call her back about 6:30 Monday evening, and she was very relieved that I was not incapacitated. And I took that as a good sign that she was concerned about me.
Yes, I do too. It's that mutual bonding. I mean,
Yes,
that's
yes.
the goal.
Right, right.
So, yeah, I consider that, I consider that a very good sign too. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Anne.
Yes.
And you're at work, you're not at work tonight.
No, tomorrow night I'll be, but not tonight.
Okay, Thursday nights. Is it always Thursday? For some reason, I got it.
No, sometimes it varies. I always work Tuesday morning, but then other
Oh.
times during the week.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. And
Indeed.
Katomi has Kathy Utterback.
Yeah, she's got a broken arm. And yeah, she's having a little rough these past few weeks. Her sister passed away, and then she got a biopsy the other day to find out, like, I think she had like, she has to find out, I think she has like breast cancer.
Breast cancer, breast cancer.
Yeah, because like one of her family members had passed away from that as well. So she's a little worried, and apparently it was very painful, but she couldn't hop on the Zoom today. So I'm going tomorrow to help her with that. But she should be back on hopefully by Saturday.
Oh, okay. Well, she really, really appreciated you coming over and helping her open up envelopes and open up cans and open up bottles. Because with that because she said the arm she broke was her dominant arm, her right arm, you know. So she really couldn't do anything. She was quite helpless. And she went on and on and on about how wonderful you were and how much, very much she appreciated you. So
We were just chilling, having fun.
Well, that was still very, very nice. So thank you. Did we go around and talk to everybody? Dawn, we didn't talk to Dawn, and I know Patty's feeling sick, so I'm not going to bother her. Don, did you have anything to say? Don, you're on mute.
Roxanne, until he gets off mute, could you stay on a minute afterwards?
Sure.
Okay.
Don, you're still on mute. There you go.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was just impressed with how everybody is communicating with the people that they're assigned to. And you know, you guys are doing a good work. Just keep it up.
Yeah. I think you all are doing a wonderful job too. And again, if Stacy was here, she would just be bubbling and effusive all over the place about how very much you are to be recognized, to be acknowledged, because the benefits that you provide, although intangible, are just very significant. And we really are filled with gratitude that you're here and willing to dedicate yourself to another person. So thank you. Okay, so is there anything else that we need to say? That was a great little in-service by Dana, was it not?
Yeah, it kind of looks like we can work with her and get some, you know, with help, right?
Yes, I think so. I think
Yeah.
so.
I'd like to put out a good word for social workers. People don't know they exist, and they provide such service. I mean, all this stuff is way too complicated, you know, and she was talking about that waiver thing, you know, and they fill out the application in 10 minutes online, and we would spend hours and still not get it right. And they just know all this thing. They know who to access and how to access them and assess the needs. And they just, yeah, they're an amazing group of people.
Yeah, I think they're underfunded and they're overworked.
Oh, yeah.
Typically.
Right.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the time.
Oh, I think they're overworked too, but I don't know anybody in the healthcare field who is not overworked. Do you?
Yeah, it's a tough field, tough job.
You know, I forgot to stop the recording.